Hello, I'm Ashley, the engineer at Andover Norton, and one of the questions we do get is about the centre stud on the cradle. Now this applies to all Norton Commandos that have this stud. It's slightly different on the Mark III Commando, as it actually has a threaded assembly with a nut and a washer, which is actually a better idea and a little bit more accurate than judging the shims that you need to put on here to get the case on correctly. One of the things it's worth doing is getting this on and doing a dry run test fit first to make sure it all goes on square. You normally see the cases that haven't because they've normally got a piece about here where they've actually been rubbing against a swinging arm, or they haven't got the sufficient swing arm clearance. Now I'm not going to put this over the stud, and there are nuts, bolts, whatever missing. This is just to show what you're trying to achieve. Now on the inner chain case you've got a face here. Admittedly a bit of a label here, this is our sample one. But the trick here is that this face meets with this face and the gasket, and it all goes on square. So when it goes on, it's not actually at an angle to this face or to that face on either plane. It must be slap bang square on there. Now the thing that can stop that being square on there is this stud here. So if you imagine, if I hold that up like that, you can now see that it's not going to be on there, and it could be at an angle, whatever. So when you tighten this up, it's going to pull it one way or the other. If it doesn't go square onto that face, normally one of the other things you'll see is dripping oil coming down between the two cases, the crankcase and the inner chain case. The trick is to get this on here nice and square, and it's supported with the correct amount of washers under here. So this case is nice and supported, but it's key that this is square onto the crankcase and supported by the washers. Now the Mark III has a slightly different arrangement. It has a stud that's threaded, and then you put the actual chain case, primary inner chain case on the Mark III, put it all on there. But the thing you do before you do, make sure that the nut and the washers wound all the way back. If it's a chain case that you know is good and you've taken it off and you've had no problems, then you can just leave that where it is. But generally, if it's something you're not too sure, or you're reassembling it for the first time, or trying to cure a problem with a leak, wind this all the way back, assemble the chain case, and one of the last things you do is reach up underneath the case and bring the nut and the washer a button up to the actual side of the actual case. You don't need to do it tight, you just do it finger tight against that case, and then you put the nut on from the other side and then do that up and just nip it up just so it supports the chain case. Realistically, this could have been a better design. Norton back in the day weren't thinking with their heads. They could have made this a threaded one just by threading it down here and using two nuts either side, lock that off, and then using a nut and a washer like they do on the Mark III. But sadly you've got this where you have to add washers and spacers to get the correct support to that face there for the inner chain case. If you've got any questions, or you want to know more, you're still not sure, get in touch with myself and Simon at Andover Norton. Via email's best, but you can ring. And that's the reason why we do this, to show people what you're trying to achieve. Now you can see it. It most probably paints a picture with 1,000 words. Dead easy to do, and that's the logic behind it. Thank you very much.